The MMORPG genre has been in a very steep decline for about a decade now, or as Josh Drive Hayes likes to say, it's my turn, mum, to share the news that the MMO genre is dead. But now let's be realistic, the MMO genre isn't dying, it's not dead, it's healthy, in quotation marks, and the realistic part of this is, it's not a growing genre. No matter how many new games get announced, no matter how many new MMOs get hyped up, if you look at the charts, if you look at the growth of MMOs, the user base at best peaks around 1 or 2 million and then it starts to decline again. It's a genre that's become dominated by incumbents who cannot be shaken from their positions. Even Final Fantasy XIV at its peak and World of Warcraft at its lowest barely matched. Barely. The king for 20 years barely got overtaken. So what exactly ends up happening in the MMO genre? Less and less people are willing to abandon their 10 years in Final Fantasy XIV, their 20 years in World of Warcraft, their 6 years in Classic WoW, their 9-10 years in Elder Scrolls Online, their 10 years in Star Wars Republic, their 10 plus years in Guild Wars 2. These big OG titles. People have been playing their favorite MMO for over a decade. And they will always take breaks. They'll go, for example, try out New World, Lost Ark, Throne and Liberty, all the upcoming MMOs that come and go, but they almost always go. Now let's pick apart New World, the big one. It almost actually shook the MMO genre. It almost actually made a ginormous change to the genre, because more than being an MMO, it was a game that pushed forward MMO systems with non-MMO systems that made the game more mainstream than most other MMOs typically would. But let's look at its numbers. It peaked at just under 1 million concurrent users. 1 million people logged in at once. That is a staggering number. If the reports are correct, it sold over 40 million copies. Now that report seems a little exaggerated. I'm gonna say realistically it sold about 15 to 20 million copies at most, but 1 million concurrent players is absolutely wild. But despite New World being a ginormous hit, it had a lot of issues and it kept slowly declining. But even if New World was perfect the entire way through, it would have still declined because the genre as a whole is not a player base that is growing. You hit that cap, and the cap is there. There is no going past it because the MMO genre is not a genre that kids enjoy. It's an aging audience of 30, 35, 40-year-old men and women who are stuck in a nostalgia bait past of a genre that just isn't popular. We cling onto these idealisms and this idea that MMOs can return to the good old days, the peaks, 13 million people playing one MMO. Maybe the Riot MMO will do that. Maybe Guild Wars 3 will do that. Maybe EverQuest 3. Maybe the Lord of the Rings Online MMO, the new one coming from Amazon. There are so many different upcoming MMOs, and I'll cover more things about that later on. But the MMO genre is not growing, and it will not grow, because younger audiences do not see a point in investing that much time into game modes that aren't just customizable and compatible with multiple different playstyles. Look at Fortnite, look at Roblox, look at Minecraft, look at some of the most popular games in the world right now, and what do you see? User-generated content is the actual future of MMOs and gaming in general. Because you can only make a game as a company for a specific audience. If you have 10 million players, you're making a game for that 10 million players. But as the player base gets bored or tired or whatever, and they start leaving, you're not getting new people to jump back into that player pool. So it goes from 10, 9, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, and continuously declining. With user-generated content, if you get bored of the main game mode, if you don't want to play Battle Royale on Fortnite for example, you jump to Toontown or some random map, some glide map, some PvP map, some PvE map, you play some random kids maps, zombie survival, tower defense. Which takes me back to Warcraft 3 for a second. This is not really an MMO, but Warcraft 3's user-generated content led to the advent of the MOBA genre. It led to the advent of League of Legends and Dota 2, to the biggest genre in the world, the biggest game in the world right now, not counting, for example, Roblox and all those kids mobile games and things like that. The other major issue is botting and RMT and just seeing the world get eviscerated by an ever-growing AI apocalypse of bots. Companies cannot seem to solve the issue no matter what they do. False bans, false positives, the economy being in shambles. You look at most MMOs, new ones in particular, and the swarm of AI, the swarm of bots just come in and eviscerate that populace, that eviscerates that gameplay loop and systems. Lost Ark is the most big cause of this in recent years. If you look at Lost Ark, you can see that. It was so bad they went and did mass ban waves, and there was a lot of false positives, as I said, a lot of issues. The issue has become that gaming companies are now struggling, genuinely struggling to keep up with banning bots because two reasons. One, they don't want to hire GMs or customer support that costs money and doesn't generate money. Two, it's not that effective. When people in third world countries or poorer countries are botting to make an income, they don't care about the bots. They don't care about you banning them. They'll make a new wave of it. Some of these bot companies make tens of thousands per month. That's 2 or 3 employees. They make insane revenue for the activity that they're doing. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really affect the bottom line of these companies very much. And so they don't care. GMs are never coming back in large numbers because it's not profitable. You have to hire 100, 200, 300 GMs, 200 customer service representatives. And while that gets a lot of good community will, it doesn't generate revenue. And this is a revenue-dominated industry, a revenue-dominated worldscape. Those times are long gone. Which now takes us back to the big dogs. We're going to talk about World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2, and all those big games that have survived for so long. And most of them don't really report their numbers anymore. Final Fantasy XIV reported peak numbers and then stopped really reporting and sharing. We know for a fact it fell under 1 million subscribers recently. They're not going to share exactly how many it fell to. Is it going to fall to 500k? 900? Where's it going to really settle? Where does the dust fall there? World of Warcraft doesn't really report sub numbers anymore. It hasn't since the massive decline in Warlords of Draenor. What's happened since then? They occasionally say, we hit the best numbers we've ever had. We broke records. This is the most sub we've been since this expansion. We know Legion had over 8 million subs at a certain point. I think it was 7.8 million, give or take. And they'll occasionally say, we've matched Legion's numbers, or we've broken past this number, or this. But they don't share the exact metric. All we have to go off is, for example, raid logs in World of Warcraft, and other metrics like that to try and figure out the exact number of players. And the current estimates for World of Warcraft are about 4 million subs right now. It could be as high as 6 or as low as 3, but the current guess is about 4 million subscribers to Final Fantasy's 1 million. Then let's look at the other MMOs in the genre. What has Star Wars: The Old Republic done? It's gone free to play. And that was a long time ago, it's over a decade ago. But on top of that, it's become sunset. It's no longer getting major updates. It's still getting updates. It got sold to a company called Broadsword, who is now running and managing it. And that company does soft updates, soft tweaks. It adds new content, new dungeons, new content to make the patch cadence feel good. But it's mostly cosmetic. It's mostly milking that existing player base. It's not a growing game. The Star Wars: Old Republic MMO may as well be dead because it's never going to really recover. And I love that game. It's one of my favorite MMOs of all time. I have over 2,000 hours in it. And I know for a lot of people they're going to be like, 2,000 hours? That's child's play. Yeah, but I have 2,000 hours in Star Wars: Old Republic. I have like 3,000 hours in Guild Wars 2. I have like 10,000 hours in World of Warcraft. I have 700 hours in New World. I have a shit ton of hours on a dozen plus MMOs across my lifetime. So it's not the best argument to really be throwing at people, right? Star Wars: Old Republic is dead. But what has Guild Wars 2 done in this time frame? They realized, hey, well, we're working on Guild Wars 3. We don't want to really make an expansion every 3-4 years. We don't want to take 2 years to make an expansion. So they've adopted a new model that's made Guild Wars 2 actually have a resurgence, a serious resurgence. And it's seasonal expansions, not massive mega X-packs. It's like DLCs almost. Every 6 months to 12 months, you get a brand new DLC. A lot of content, a new location, new features. You want to play a housing? Here you go. You wanted this? Here you go. They're making the game feel more fleshed out and more interesting and built up. But they're doing it in a faster cadence because they've realized that in today's landscape, waiting 13 months in Siege of Orgrimmar or waiting 12 months in Hellfire Citadel isn't a realistic time frame for MMOs to really function in. Look at New World. New World launched with effectively piss all content, effectively nothing. So what happened? And once we got to the end game and the end game activities, there was nothing left to do. So what did most people do? That's right, they kept no, that's a joke. They didn't keep playing, they quit. You can't expect people to make content for themselves anymore. Those days are dead. The idea of the journey and you create your own gameplay and your own fun, you make the game fun, is not realistic if you're not a role player. If you're a regular player and the devs do not spoon feed you content, hey there buddy, here's the PvP spoon, open up, you're not gonna PvP. Here's the Mythic Plus, here's the Mythic rating, open up, they're not gonna do it. Players do not create their own content, they look for the most efficient, optimal route to play the game. So you have to give them railguards on how to play and what to play. So if you create a sandbox game, the numbers will immediately plummet because the average gamer is no longer critically thinking, they're critically consuming. Minus the critical, they're just consuming. And hence why Guild Wars 2 has done these new little expansion cycles. It's kept the Guild Wars player base happy and thriving, and a lot of Guild Wars' playstyle has always been, oh, a new expansion is dropping, I haven't played in 3 years, let me return and play for like 2 or 3 months and then quit again. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, I came back for 2 or 3 months, but there's a new expansion in 8 months. I'll just keep playing casually. Let me just keep logging in. Let me stay up to date a little bit, catch up on my dailies or my quests or my this, because Guild Wars is horizontal. I have the best gear from 2013. My gear is still pretty good. I'm sure there's slightly better gear in recent expansions, but like for the most part, I can log back into Guild Wars 2 at any point and have amazing gear and start play the game running. Which now moves us on to another topic, nostalgia. And I'm gonna be real. I'm a classic WoW content creator. For the most part, I was, right? I love classic WoW. I'm a big classic plus shill. I love the idea of playing an OG old world continuously updated and developed. But I want to say something. Nostalgia is the biggest bait known to mankind. Nostalgia is one of the biggest lies ever told to people. It was better in the good old days when we used to beat our kids and drive our Corvettes in a street with nobody around. No, it wasn't better. You just think about the good memories because you blocked out all the bad ones with alcohol. That's the same thing with MMOs. The good old days were so much better. Not one person is playing classic WoW the intended way. You look at classic WoW, people are playing in the same way you would play retail WoW. Efficient, maximized, full world boss, full consumes, maximized everything, best raid tiers on raid comps, and itemization. Yes, there's casual guilds. I know that argument gets thrown out a lot. Play with your own people. But when the meta, when the average player has improved their skill so much, the journey is dead. You can't have a journey in a 20-year-old game. That's the issue that modern MMOs are having now, is the journey is so dead that everyone can only really focus on the end game. Because no MMO truly creates content for the journey anymore, because the player base sprints to the end because of social media, because of online, videos, news, articles, just you log on. And what do you see? If you go to YouTube, best build, best tier list, best guide, best this. Every MMO is exactly the same. Most games are the same. If you type Silksong, there's 2 types of popular Silksong videos. Best way to play the game, how to beat the boss, the full guides and everything, and why Silksong is good and AAA companies are bad, which is a valid point, right? A lot of AAA companies are terrible, like the EA $55 billion buyout. We're not really going to talk about this video, but you guys get what I'm saying. Now, we have to take a step back to UGC, user-generated content. Now, why are we going back there? Because user-generated content, Roblox, Fortnite, your Minecrafts, has eaten into the MMO player base. Kids, teenagers who were once upon a time would log on to and get addicted to an MMO are now playing Roblox, Minecraft, or Fortnite, or other games like that. Think about it. When did you first start playing an MMO? The average person, if you go back 15, 20 years, was in college, was in high school, or middle school. That was the average first starting place for most MMO players. So they would dive in, they would get addicted, they would play throughout the high school, colleges, whatever. They would quit in Wrath, or they would quit here or there. And then from there, they've kind of been like, lost, coming and going, trying all the different MMOs, trying to find a new home. Young kids aren't just coming home from high school or middle school, or even kids in college. They're playing Call of Duty. They're playing Fortnite, Roblox, your Minecrafts. They're playing custom servers, custom content. They're playing VR chat. They're doing all these games where the content is user created, because that's the only way the journey comes back. And this is something I've talked about before, but I think the future of MMOs isn't in MMOs. I think it's the first MMO to make user-generated worlds, where you can log in and pick from 1,000 servers, 100 servers. You pay your sub fee or whatever, maybe it's free to play, and you play the content other MMO players create for you. And until an MMO company does it, I think the genre is going to keep on declining and declining and declining. Because when the audience pool isn't growing, each new person that quits the MMO genre is not getting one new person to replace it. For every 5 people that quit, we get maybe 1 new person. And I made that number up. I pulled it out my ass. But the point stands. Now I'm going to read a quote here. In 2024, Epic paid creators $352 million inside Fortnite. Roblox hit 111.8 million daily active users. 111.8 million daily active users. Think about that. And the companies make more money for it. Roblox is a company that only makes Roblox. They make billions in profit per year. They're one of the most profitable gaming companies on the planet. It's absolutely insane what they're bringing in, raking in. And they're making the users create the content that they're making the money on. Which now takes us to live service fatigue. Because this is the other major thing that's been killing MMOs and genres in general. FOMO. Fear of missing out. Battle pass this, battle pass that. Buy this cosmetic, it's in the store now, it's going away forever, you're gonna miss out. Buy now, you're missing out, it's going, it's leaving. Why haven't you bought it yet? You see the problem here. This is happening in every genre. Every fucking game has a battle pass now. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if I woke up one day with Elon Musk Neuralink in my head and I woke up and it's like, pay a battle pass to skip ads. That's the day I really do crash out. But the point is, it's gotten excessive. Between user-generated content and fun games like that, and this FOMO and this constant like array of games and like battle passes being pushed down your throat, monetization, microtransactions, it's kind of killed and dampened MMOs. Because, for example, World of Warcraft, you pay a sub price, you have an in-game store, you have your WoW token, you have all these things. You're monetizing multiple fronts. Final Fantasy 14, you pay a sub price, you have an in-game store, a lot of cosmetics, a lot of things. You can pay for services, you can pay to race change, transfer, all these things. You look at Star Wars Republic, shit ton of store items. Guild Wars 2, shit ton of store items. You look at every MMO, store items. Because it's become the norm. Sub price is no longer enough. Box price is no longer enough. Monetization is the future, and there's no getting away from that. But the older and aging player base, whilst liking to swipe quite a lot, let's be real here, is getting tired and fatigued. People are broke. People don't got money. Let's be real here. The average person picks and chooses what they buy, what they play. They don't have infinite money anymore, and there's only so much time one person has to play a game. You play one MMO, or maybe 2 if you're really, a deadbeat and you don't have a job. Or you don't play MMOs and you play other games because you don't have enough time to finish everything. And talking about money, layoffs and cancellations. More MMOs have been cancelled than have ever made it to market. So everyone keeps getting hype with MMOs going, oh my god, I can't wait to play this, I can't wait to play that. Cancelled. This new game, cancelled. But what about cancelled? But cancelled. Cancelled. Stop speaking. It's gonna get cancelled. The MMO genre is a very cancelable genre. It's just gonna keep getting cancelled. It's gonna keep getting removed, deleted, taken to the graveyard, taken out back and put down. For example, the ZeniMax MMO that they were working on. Phil Spencer, and I quote, "This is the best game I've ever played." And then he cancelled it. You see the issues here, right? The genre's most hyped upcoming games are the Ride MMO. It got reboot recently. Guild Wars 3. It probably started development 2 years ago. EverQuest 3. EverQuest has more cancelled MMOs than launched MMOs, let's be real here. Classic Plus. It's probably going to be a year plus out of minimum until next BlizzCon. WoW 2. Never happening. Lord of the Rings MMO by Amazon. And do you trust them after New World? You see this issue of all these MMOs are 5+ years in development. At minimum, they need that much more time to really bake. Riot MMO 2030 if it doesn't get rebooted again. Guild Wars 3 2028, 2029 if it doesn't get rebooted or cancelled. Classic Plus 2027 if it doesn't get cancelled. EverQuest probably gonna get cancelled. The issue is the hype is dying because you can no longer afford to be hyped because the MMO you're putting your faith in is likely going to get cancelled or rebooted or restarted because the money's not there for it. These games cost $100, $200, $150 million to make. And they need a lot of money to make that sub cost back, to make that money back for the development cycle. And on top of that, when an MMO does launch, what typically happens? It gets taken out back and shot. Let's take a look at the last 10 MMOs that came out, shall we? Let's list them. Albion Online, Quinfall, Crowfall, You then have, for example, Albion, you have Blue Protocol, you have Lost Ark, you have Throne and Liberty, you have New World. That's just 8 I listed off the top of my head. Do you play any of them? Have you enjoyed them recently? What are their player numbers looking like? And they're most likely on track towards, guess what? Cancellation in some form of the distant future, probably 5 years from now. Don't forget about your Arcade. Don't forget about all the games that came out in the early 2010s. Your Conan, your Warhammer. There were so many games that came out that nobody thinks about, nobody remembers. Because the MMO genre is a graveyard. More than any other genre, you're likely going to lose all your money making an MMO. So is the MMO genre dead? Absolutely not. It's fine. It's just not growing. And it's going to keep shrinking, and I expect it's going to be about 5-10 years before it truly hits like a critical melting point, like that critical point of where, holy shit, we're in danger. But we still have your Riot MMOs, we have our WoW 2.0s, we have our Classic Pluses, and all these other big names and IPs that could potentially shift things and shake things, and make things more relevant culturally again. But I'm going to be real, I think an MMO is going to come out at some point. It's going to be an MMO UGC, user-generated massively multiplayer online game, that's going to completely shift the whole meta for the MMO scene drastically. We're due for a 2004 moment for like World of Warcraft to the MMO genre, but in 2025 or in 2030 at this point, I guess. And until that happens, the decline isn't going to stop. In no universe, in no timeline, in no reality. And that's okay. It's simply what it is. But hey, thank you all for watching this video. If you liked, like and subscribe. If you hated it, understandable. Dislike and subscribe and become a dedicated hater. We don't half-ass our hate on this channel, we full-ass it. Thank you all for watching. Ebonheart out. Peace.